Redfeather, Colorado is a picturesque town nestled up in the foothills of the Rocky Mountains. It is by far one of my favorite places to go and explore when I get the days off during the week or even the weekends. It's a great place to go biking, great place to have some activity, and does have some really fun restaurants to go up there and explore. But is it really a place that's worth living? So today we are going to go through, just like usual, the pros and cons of living here in northern Colorado, especially when it comes to Redfeathers. It has some of the best stuff that Colorado has to offer, but it does come at a cost. And so today that's what we are going to talk about. So let's jump through those pros and cons of Redfeathers, Colorado, and see if it's really a place that's worth living at. Let's do it. And as always, my name is Connor Martin. I work here with Soukup Real Estate Services in Fort Collins, Colorado. If you really like these videos, if you could always please like, subscribe, and share. And if you are ever thinking about buying or purchasing a house here in northern Colorado, or just Colorado in general, feel free to reach out to me because I love helping people out find their true place here in Colorado. And I hope the first step is being able to watch these videos and see what the heck is out there. So let's go along with it today and see what Redfeather is. So my number one pro about being in Redfeather, Colorado is it's going to be the outdoor enthusiast paradise. And what I mean by that is that no matter if you are a hiker, biker, fisherman, rock climber, if you like going out dirt biking, if you like going out and just driving around dirt roads, Redfeather really is the place. That's why it's really near dear to my heart. I actually have a little cabin that I'm able to go out and use that's just right across the road from the Redfeathers area. And I typically go up there 2 to 3 times a year, go camping up there, go and explore a lot of the back road trails and the hiking trails. Now, if you are a big hiker, it's actually really one of my biggest places to go, especially when I'm bringing people from out of state. It's a lot easier of hiking. It's not nearly the inclines that you're going to find near Fort Collins or over in Loveland or up in the Rocky Mountains. It's a nice, mellow area to go hiking with people who might be down from Florida. And coming up here to Colorado, that elevation makes a huge difference. And I will tell you, that is a huge thing, and just be prepared for it. But if you really want to go out and do some hiking, some of my favorite trails are going to be like Mount Margaret, Lady Moon Trail, and West Lake Trail. Those are probably my top 3 places that I would personally choose to go if I was going out hiking. And always when I go out hiking up there, especially if I got my fishing license, I'm definitely bringing my pole. And there are some really fun lakes out there. Obviously, the first one you're going to see when looking up on Google is going to be Redfeathers Lakes. That's going to be the main center area. That's where a lot of people go. And it is a really good place to go, especially if you want to go do some trout, not hunting, but fishing. And you also have other ones like Dowdy Lake and West Trail Lake. And so if you're looking for a place to go and explore and go out and hang out, even if you don't want to live up there, that's going to be a really good place. If you are looking to want to actually move up there, let's see if there are actually some really good places to live. And I would personally say, between here, Redfeathers Lakes, and like Livermore, Colorado, there are some fun places within there that is a part of Redfeathers that you can go and be separated far away from people, or you could even go live on a golf course. So let's jump into it and let's see what some of those other pros are going to be. So my number 2 pro is definitely going to be the fact that even though Redfeathers is pretty far away from Fort Collins and some of the more localized areas that we definitely talk about, Redfeathers is really its own little town. It's very small, very unique. It doesn't really have a grocery store. It has a convenience store, so you can definitely go out and get stuff. But the cool part is, after done hiking, after done biking or fishing, there are a couple actual restaurants you can actually go up and check out. And they're really good, especially if you're wanting to get away. Just like going up the Poudre Canyon to like the Mishawaka, which is a nice little restaurant / concert venue that's right up along the Poudre River. Great spot. There's also places like the Potbelly Restaurant up in Redfeather, Colorado that's really great to go to, especially if you're going to go out on a nice little fun date night. And you also have like the Trading Post Cafe for a quick meal or a quick little sandwich. And then if you're really wanting to get a little fancy and stuff, actually going to the golf course and eating at the Redfeather Lakes Tavern is going to be a really good option. So even though Redfeathers is a very far place away from, say, Fort Collins, Loveland, and some of these bigger towns, there's plenty enough to do up there, especially when living up there. You have Redfeather Lakes Village, you have Redfeather Lakes subdivision. There are plenty of really nice places to live, especially if you want to live on the golf course, which for me, I'm a huge golfer. I have not had the chance to go out there and golf there yet because there are so many other things to do, but it is definitely going to be on my list. So living up in Redfeathers, Colorado, even though you are like 40 some minutes away from Fort Collins, as long as you aren't traveling down for work every single day, living up in Redfeathers is easy. Come down to Fort Collins, hit up the old Costco, buy about 2 months worth of food, haul it back up there, and then you still got plenty of places to go and explore, but you also get your distance and you get a lot of wildlife up there as well, to where you really do feel like you're kind of away and secluded on an oasis. So number 3 pro of being up in Redfeathers, Colorado, especially when living, is that it is part of some of the top school districts that we have here in northern Colorado. The Poudre School District encompasses some schools that are actually up in Redfeathers, Colorado. They have one of the coolest elementary schools up there. And then going down to like LaPorte to their middle school, and then eventually over to the high school in Fort Collins. That's really where you're going to find your schools at. And, you know, if I was a kid, I remember living in Elizabeth, Colorado, being in a small town. Not exactly like Redfeather, but it's pretty close to it on that side. And the schools were some of the funnest schools I ever got to be a part of. When you move to a bigger city, the schools kind of get a little more dull and a little more academic. You know, I'm an academic dude, but I'm more of a handsy, touchy-feely kind of guy. And so when I'm in school, when I'm doing stuff, I want to be proactive. I want to be doing something, not just sitting there and listening to a teacher. And one thing I've heard, especially from some of my really good friends that now live up in Redfeathers and Livermore, Colorado, is they have one of the best elementary schools for outdoor learning and outdoor experiences. 100% worth it. And as your kid gets older, especially as they get into high school, because I know being in a small town as a high schooler isn't nearly as fun as probably what other people have said. And so being able to actually transfer your kid down to the Fort Collins, LaPorte area gives them so much more options to actually be able to have friends, be close to a different type of community that you would see up in Redfeathers. And it's just a great option for families to be able to live a little bit further out of town, but still get the amenities that Fort Collins has to offer, which is really cool and rare for this area out here in northern Colorado. My last one for pros for living in Redfeather, Colorado is really going to just be that community. When you go up there, if you're a mountain biker, hiker, dirt biker, and typically for dirt bikers, we're the ones who get shunned the most out there, but everyone is just super friendly. I mean, you run across anybody up there, they're wanting to sit and talk to you for like 15 minutes. They're wanting to enjoy time with you. And even if you're like sitting out in front of the golf course, more than likely you're going to find yourself chatting with multiple people as they walk in. And it is just a really cool experience and something that I would definitely recommend to you if you have the option to either think about moving up there, if you're wanting to kind of get that little bit of space, maybe you're getting retired, you want a little bit of space from these busier cities, or if you're looking to just get a little more adventure in your life and live in the adventure versus having to drive to the adventure. So those would be my top reasons why maybe living in Redfeather, Colorado is well worth it on that side. But let's try and hit those couple cons now. And I can guarantee you, most of you guys have probably already thought of these cons. And, you know, this area really only works for specific people. So don't feel bad if this one is not the space for you. There are a lot of other cool places just like this that hopefully you can find down in my other videos if you check out my YouTube channel. So let's try and hit some of those negatives really quick. Some of those little cons that, you know, most places that are like Redfeathers are going to typically have. And so I'm going to run through these super quick and just make it a nice quick video on that side. Number one is going to be you're further away from Fort Collins. Fort Collins is going to be the biggest town closest to you, and you're going to be roughly 40 minutes away from there. And that's not even to get to the grocery store or to Costco. That's to downtown Fort Collins, which is actually relatively close to Redfeathers compared to the rest of Fort Collins that's on the south side. So trying to get over to Harmony to the Costco is going to be an extra 20 minutes. Going to any grocery store, hospital is going to be a little bit more of a challenge. So just be prepared for that. I'm not saying it's a bad drive. I'm not saying it's something that isn't doable, but it is something to be aware of, and know that when you make it down to Fort Collins, you're going to be stocking up. You're going to be spending the day down in Fort Collins. So it's going to be more like when we used to go up, like where I live now in Loveland, I spend 45 to 50 minutes getting up to the mountains to go hang out. And then I spend all day there. And then I get to come back down here. And it's okay. But opposite of there, obviously, is you're living, breathing in that environment of being out in that activity where I'm going towards. And then you have to come into town to grab your stuff. Which one's better? I'm not really sure. Personally, to me, I am a big fan of, probably being and living in my environment of activities versus having to travel to them, because as I'm getting a little bit older, as I'm getting a little busier, it's just harder and harder for me to get up into those mountains and go and enjoy it. And so I can really see why people, go out and buy homes up there and then travel in to go to restaurants and other things like that. It's just at a certain point in your life, it's well worth it being in the activity versus traveling to the activity, in my opinion. Number two, that goes along with that little bit of a distance in the commute, is the fact that Redfeather really doesn't have any shopping. We don't. It's got a couple of those restaurants that I mentioned. It's got a convenience store around there as well. But when it comes to big time shopping, getting your milk, getting your groceries, getting your water bottles, that's really not the place you're wanting to go shop. You don't want to go to some small convenience store where you're going to get charged double. You're going to want to head down to that Costco. So shopping is going to be very limited in Redfeathers, which for some people can be really good. To others, it would be the most devastating thing in the world. And the last thing and the final thing, especially because of this year, is be prepared for weather. Because of that 45-minute drive and the fact that you're going to be gaining some elevation as you go up to Redfeather, Colorado, you're going to be dealing with a little bit more snow. You're going to be dealing with a little bit more rain. You're going to be dealing with a little bit more of that weather pattern. And so be prepared for the fact that you might be snowed in for a day or two. This year, I haven't heard anybody being snowed in, at least in Colorado. Up in Bozeman, Montana, I know they got 2 feet up there. Out in California, I heard they got a couple feet up in their mountains. Here, it's still very arid and dry, so it's not as bad as you would expect compared to some of these other states and areas around here, especially when you go up to like Vail and those spots. But living in Redfeathers, Colorado is a really cool spot as long as you love being around your environment, being in the activity zone, being able to just walk out your back door on your mountain bike and go on a mountain bike trail. That's the reason why you live up in Redfeather, Colorado. So I really hope this video helped you kind of understand what Redfeather's about, what the pros and cons are. And if it did help you guys out in determining if Redfeather is a good spot, if you could always please like, subscribe, and share. That really helps my channel out tremendously. And if you are definitely looking to buy a place, always hit me up. I love helping my clients, my buyers, find the perfect place here in Colorado. And this area of expertise of being out in Redfeathers, some of these acreage areas a little further away from the Fort Collins, Loveland area, that's where my expertise is, and that's the place where I have the most fun because it's right up my alley. So please reach out at any time, and I hope you guys have a great rest of your week.